Georgia, Ole Miss, big time game. Jackson Dart, Carson Beck. Uh, who do we like in this game?
I mean, Georgia 2.5 point favorites, but this is one, like I mentioned early in the episode, circled on the calendar. Ole Miss is surging. It's you. They both won last week. If you look at the Georgia win, you look at the Ole Miss win on paper, yeah, Ole Miss looked like they smoked them. But I think from a true ball standpoint, like Georgia's win was not very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And Ole Miss's was extremely impressive against the Arkansas team that me and you have continued to tout this year as better than paper would tell you. Ole Miss took what they wanted. I said it in our reaction to the game. They took exactly what they wanted. If they wanted a sack, they went and got it. If they wanted a safety, they got it. If they wanted a deep ball, they got it. Georgia's a team that can get got right now, and that's where I sit in this game.
Okay. All right. I like it. I like it. And so for Georgia, a lot of people feel like they can get got, and we've seen it, right? We've seen it just even in games that they've won close. Kentucky was a close game. They dominated in Texas. And so it sometimes it makes me feel like with Georgia, it's when it comes to big games, they show up. We didn't see it in the first half against Bama, but they came back. Of course, he made it a close game. Texas, everybody was saying Texas was the team. Georgia showed that they're the team again. I just think this team plays up and down to the competition. That doesn't mean that they're going to play up again, but it to me, it shows me that they know how to play up at least.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like I've seen this story year in and year out, right? Ole Miss looks good, and then Ole Miss can't beat Georgia. Tennessee will look good, and then all of a sudden it's like Georgia beats them. I think that if there's any game that Carson Beck is going to clean up his turnovers, this could be the game, right?
Okay.
It just seems like it would be time.
Okay. From a timing standpoint, I'm with you. I think that they have everything in grasp to improve and be a better team. Do I think it's this game? I do not. I think that Ole Miss right now is going to put insane pressure on this Georgia offense. Right now they're leading the SEC in sacks, and it's not even close. 42 sacks on the year. Next up is 31. They swarmed Taylor Green. They swarmed Malachi Singleton last week. There was no room for anyone to operate. And right now we know that Carson Beck in the interceptions battles that he's had, leads, right there in the SEC and fifth in the country in sacks, interceptions thrown. So it's not even an SEC problem. I mean, he is one of the most proficient quarterbacks in the country in throwing interceptions.
Yeah.
And we've seen it last week where it was clean pockets. I mean, he's just not reading the play right. Like, he's not seeing underneath zones. He's throwing the ball to guys who are clearly not open, but he's doing it with a clean pocket. So when you're in a game like this and Ole Miss is attacking, I don't think that paints him to have a good day.
Yeah, and so if for them, they're going to have to really clean that up as we've talked about. And I agree with you. A lot of these interceptions have been clean pocket interceptions. For Ole Miss, this is kind of the game they built this roster for. That the defensive line we kind of talked about a little bit with the amount of sacks and pressure they create. Walter Nolan's been really dominant this season. For Ole Miss offensively, do you think that they're going to be able to take it to this team? Defensively for Georgia, right? Georgia, we always talk about having a top pass defense. We saw what they were able to do having their way without Trey Harris last week. Watkins was their top receiver, but Trey Harris didn't even play in the game, and they still were able to dominate. And of course, everyone should know this. Trey Harris is one of the best receivers in the country, statistically. And so, potentially having him back this game, saw what they were able to do last game, it makes me feel like this could be Dart's moment.
Yeah.
This could be his game.
Yeah. I mean, right now, all-time offensive leader at Ole Miss after this last game. Jordan Watkins, I mean, he did his thing without Trey Harris. Should Trey Harris not even be able to go in this game, I still think that there's potential for Ole Miss to continue to take the deep shot, the big play. It's worked all year. It worked behind play action early on. They've continued to have great route combinations. We know Lane Kiffin and his aptitude for drawing up plays that get guys open and get playmakers in space, and they're doing that here. Now, Georgia is not going to be as easy to do that against as Arkansas. So do I think they score 60-plus points? I do not think so. But right now, it's hard to doubt that they could get that going against this team because you saw Lagway with the deep ball last week. Like, he was able to do it. They were able to score with Aiden Warner, getting Badger the ball on some bigger plays. I think that Ole Miss can keep it together. Now we've seen Ole Miss though struggle in the same light. So
Yep.
I think that Ole Miss, if they can get the running game going with Henry Parrish, then yes, it increases their chance of taking those offensive shots like they want.
Yeah, and Ole Miss has definitely been trending upwards, right? Since their first couple games against South Carolina and Kentucky, they've been certainly trending upwards. Obviously the loss against LSU. Who do you think this game is more important for? Both teams have a loss on their resume. Which team you think needs this more?
I think going into the season, the expectations were higher for Georgia. From a resume standpoint, I think that Georgia. I think if Georgia loses this game, their season's not done. If Ole Miss loses this game, it's in a tough spot. Now, Georgia, this isn't it. Like, you have Tennessee still. Like, you're not. This isn't the last test for you.
Right.
I would say that Ole Miss needs this more, though. I mean, they're going to be at home. This is one that Ole Miss really, really wants. They see it in their sights, especially after that last game. The momentum is high.
Definitely.
What do you think?
I'm in agreement with you, right? I think Ole Miss, this game is crucial, just given that they don't have a Tennessee type team on their resume for the remainder of the season. This is the toughest opponent they have on their schedule on paper, and in reality as well. This is way more critical for them. I think if Georgia was to lose this game, they can afford to beat Tennessee and find themselves in that 12-team discussion, or at least first four in the bubble watch. Trying to buy in to get in that first 12.
Yeah. So for Georgia to win this game, what do you think the key for them here is?
Yeah, I think the key for Georgia to win this game is to not allow this Ole Miss offense to just have their way, like you mentioned earlier, right? Like, I think Georgia will be able to score. I think the defense will do enough to stop them. But if it's just going to be an all-out offensive front, the one time we've seen that this season, Georgia had a hard time coming back from it, right? When Alabama was able to get up that 35 nothing lead, that was what made it tough for this offense to come back, and having to play from behind is not a spot that Carson Beck has traditionally been in. We've only really seen it against Bama. We've seen it a little bit against Kentucky, and we saw it last year against Georgia Tech. So that, to me, is a key for Ole Miss to win this game, is to really get the offense going early. And for Georgia to win this game is not allow the Ole Miss offense to get some momentum. The defense will be able to hang. It's the offense being able to score on Georgia's defense. That's always been I would say, their kryptonite in the past in this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Georgia, the O-line, you have Tate Ratledge back. If the O-line can protect him, hopefully he's reading the zones properly. He's going to make better clean pocket reads. Don't let Ole Miss, rack up the sacks, put pressure on him, because you're not doing him any favors. I think that's the key for Georgia in this game. I think right now Ole Miss is swarming too hard. I think that they're getting to quarterbacks too often. In this game, I like Ole Miss winning at home 27-20.
Okay. I think we're in the same boat here. I like Ole Miss as well, 28-23 in this game. I think they find a way to pull it out. I think it is a very close game going into the half and going to the end of the game. A game that feels like it should be on SEC on CBS, but it'll be a great broadcast for ESPN as well. So, like I said, I like Ole Miss 28-23 in this one.